Hi, my friends. I'm here to share some cosmic wisdom with you for May and June. Specifically, today, I want to share some practices that I think will be really, really helpful to keep us grounded and steady and kind of re-regulate our nervous system as we move into Gemini season. The sun is moving into Gemini on Monday, May 20th. And then right on the heels of that, Jupiter, which has been in Taurus for the last year plus, will be moving into Gemini on May 25th, and it'll be there through the following June 9th of 2025. So that's a big shift of energy from this fixed earth, grounded, slow, steady, practical, place of Taurus where Jupiter's been into Gemini. And Gemini is, like the curious child of the zodiac. Gemini wants to explore and learn all kinds of new things, new information, and soak it up like a sponge. So the antenna are wide open to receive information, new ideas, new things to think about, new conversations. But that energy can be a little hyperactive or a little attention deficit, like woo, all over the place and very ungrounded, right? Mutable air energy is constantly flowing, adapting this constant flow of movement in the body, in the mind, and that could be very ungrounding. So Taurus energy can teach us something about how do we come back? How do we settle? How do we feel, physically feel, and come into presence with what is real in this moment through what we see and hear and taste and touch? So I want to share some practices that can help us to do that. So one practice for staying grounded, and this comes from a Japanese tradition and value set, is something called forest bathing. I feel like we can adapt this to just beauty bathing in general, right? You don't have to live near a forest. You could be by an ocean. You can have a local park. You can just see beauty in people, in the sky, in things all around you, even inside your own internal environment with your eyes closed, you can find beauty. So, what would beauty bathing look like as a practice? It might look like setting aside 3 to 5 minutes a day to just allow yourself to fully immerse in something you find to be beautiful, something worthy of your attention. It could be as simple as an eating practice, actually, where you're bringing consciousness and presence and intention to savoring the taste and the smell and the texture of the food you're eating. That would be a very Taurian beauty bathing practice. It could be that you are somewhere outside and you're just closing your eyes and feeling the sunshine on your skin, feeling the breeze touch you, the temperature, opening your eyes and looking and really just being present to whatever is beautiful, the colors and the sounds and like so it's very much about sense immersion. In yoga, there's one of the yamas and niyamas is pratyahara, which people sometimes translate as kind of like moving away from your senses and kind of like shutting out all of the sense distraction. But pratyahara could also really be about deepening, going deeper, deeper into what you're sensing. That's a very Taurus kind of grounding practice because it brings you into your reality, your lived experience in a moment, which is very different than being in your mind or in your thoughts or somewhere out in the future or woo, 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 it's really bringing yourself down into an experience in the present moment. So that's one practice I have for you. Another practice is physically, literally just sitting or lying on the floor. Right. So a lot of times as human beings, we're bipeds and we have these 2 feet and we're standing and moving and walking, or we're sitting on something elevated above the actual physical earth. This practice of sitting on the earth, and again, it could be out in nature where you go and you find a nice rock to sit on, right? Actually sitting on the grass, sitting on the beach, on the sand, getting yourself in physical connection with the earth. You can also do this on a yoga mat or on the ground somewhere in your own home, but something about physically touching the ground, lying on the ground, is actually very settling, right? Especially if you do that with the intention of, I am going to fully drop in and allow myself to be held and supported by this incredible, beautiful earth, right? I don't have to hold myself up. I don't have to effort. I can actually surrender and feel held and loved and protected and safe. That's a very Taurus practice. So again, when you're feeling a little up in the air, which we may all begin to feel a little bit as we move into Gemini season and with Jupiter in Gemini, um, we want to find times and ways of coming back down to earth. Okay. I do want to say that Mars, which has been in Aries in the world this last couple months, I'll leave that aside for the moment. But Mars on June 9th is going to move into Taurus and it'll be there for about a month. So Mars shows us what we desire, what we're actually in action for, where we have goals, right? What we are like driven to achieve. And Mars in Taurus gives us a little extra fire and energy to really do some of these earthy practices. Okay. So I do suggest that, find something that works for you. Find something that works for you, but remember to set aside time. Maybe you schedule time into your day so it's not haphazard and like, oh, in between my rushing and my doing and my, thinking, I may or may not accidentally take time to decompress and get resettled. I would suggest put it in your actual schedule. Set an alarm every day, which is a mindfulness reminder. This is my grounding time. This is my time to come back to the earth, to come back into my physical body, to come back into my senses. I will link a video to the end of this video, which is a practice I recorded last year, which is actually a really nice yoga and meditation practice for grounding. So you can also check that out if it works for you and helps you. That would be great. I do want to talk now about Jupiter in Gemini. So it's a big shift in energy. Jupiter shows us where we have a sense of faithfulness, ideals, optimism. What else is possible? What is the potential? How can I grow? So with Jupiter moving into Gemini, there's this excitement and kind of a blessing and a support for all of us in the world right now to grow around our knowledge, our information, how we communicate, how we use the power of language and information. Are we spreading disinformation? Are we lying? Are we using language that is hurtful and harmful? Or are we mindful of what we're intentional about, what we want to learn, what we're going to consume, right? Because media is a form of consumption. We're feeding ourselves on media, on information. So are we mindful about our consumption? Are we consuming things that bring us to a place of, kind of infinite cyclical negativity, or close us down in our heart and in our soul, where we become more embittered and cynical and hateful, right? Or do we consume, or at least balance our consumption, right? Like a healthy, balanced diet. Like, what is our diet of media and information? Are we balancing what we're taking in with real intentional learning and information, podcasts, or, reading books, or speaking to friends, having conversations that elevate us on a soul level, on a healing and transformational level? Who can I be at my very highest to align to a higher purpose? That's Jupiter, right? What is my soul aspiring towards? Are we using this life that we have to elevate and to grow and to be more and more aligned with our highest purpose and our highest value? So that's a potential Jupiter in Gemini year, right? So I have some suggestions. This comes from my book, My Jupiter for Personal Growth and Purpose. I'll just read to you something I wrote about. There's a chapter which is all about like Jupiter in each of the signs and some practices that you can do to kind of invite in that energy and really work consciously with that energy. So Jupiter and Gemini practices: learn lots and lots of new things that you're curious about. Go back to school for a new course of study or certification, study a new language. This is all Gemini kind of stuff. Take music lessons or spend more time playing your instrument. Again, very Gemini. Walk, dance, or move your body. Gemini, movement, but bringing joy to that as well would be the Jupiter piece. Spend time with friends in social groups. Make new friends, especially with people who can teach you new things. Finding interesting people to have interesting conversations with, right? But with intention, growing your network of people who could talk to you and teach you different things. Expand your social media presence, marketing or branding. Teach, write, speak, or publish, especially around some knowledge, wisdom, or beliefs that you feel spiritually called to share with others. So if you've been holding off, writing or podcasting or blogging or whatever it is that you know that you really could be a teacher around this. That's Gemini. It's about sharing information and knowledge. The Jupiter expands a sense of purpose around that. What else do you have to teach that you might do this year? Taking local trips and excursions, expanding and growing yourself in the area where you have Gemini specifically in your own chart. So, of course, the astrologer in me wants to tell you, go back and look at your chart. Where do you have Gemini? What houses? What other planets do you have in Gemini? Because Jupiter is expanding that all year. To my friends who have very strong Gemini signatures, stelliums of planets, or your sun is in Gemini, your moon, your rising sign is in Gemini. Maybe your north node, what you came into this life to learn and grow around, is in Gemini. Jupiter is going to be hitting all of that this year, expanding it, but in the most positive and blessed way, right? The only caution is that Jupiter can sometimes also be excess. Yes, it's abundant, it's growth in the best way, but it could be too much, like constant expansion. So especially if you know your nervous system is especially sensitive because you're already kind of on high octane in your mind doesn't know how to shut down, especially important to reground this year and find time for those practices that tether you to the earth so that so that you could bring out your best. All right, I hope this was really helpful information for you. Wishing you a fabulous end of May and beginning of June, and I'll check back in with you all next month. Bye.